Today we're doing another guitar buyer's guide, but not for Telecasters, for Stratocasters. So stick around. How's it going, y'all? My name is Cooper Greenberg here at Alamo Music Center in San Antonio, Texas. You can find us online at alamomusic.com. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and if you're interested, click the link below to become an insider. Now, like I said, we previously did a video on how to choose the right Telecaster for you, but after many requests, obviously we got to come out with a Stratocaster version. So I'm going to run through kind of my favorites all along the line from Squier through the custom shop and just talk about which one might be the right one for you. There's a lot to think about and a lot that Fender and Squier offer when it comes to the Stratocaster. We all kind of know the Strat, we're familiar with the basic formula, but I'll kind of run down what we're going to be looking at today. Typically on a Stratocaster, you're going to have 3 single coil pickups, and that's kind of the hallmark of the Strat, but it includes like a tremolo system or vibrato, if you want to be correct, and a 5-way switch. Now, keep in mind, just like the Teles, there are a lot of different pickup configurations that you can choose from. We're going to be talking about a couple of them today, but most of them are going to be this 3-single SSS format, which I would say is probably going to be the right thing for most people. But to get us started, let's check out my choice from Squier. Previously, we did a Squier Classic Vibe. I think it was the custom Telecaster 70s. This is the Classic Vibe 50s Stratocaster, and it kind of follows a certain era-specific format, just like everything else in the Classic Vibe. It's not year-specific, but it's just decade-specific, so you can get 50s, 60s, 70s. I like the 50s on the Strats. I like the 60s and 70s. A lot of people, when it gets to 70s, don't love the big headstock, which is kind of the thing that really helps you notice that this is a 70s Strat. But this is a 50s. It's got a very comfortable neck that is glossed. Nice kind of vintage tint on there. And this is a white blonde finish. Transparent, pretty cool. 3 single coil pickups. It's absolutely no frills. And if you're looking for something that is, under a certain price point, when it comes to Squiers, there are things below this. I've talked about this before. You can get a bullet Strat. You can get an affinity Strat. I think that the Classic Vibe is where Squier kind of hits their stride. I really like the pickup voicings a little bit better. I think the attention to detail is a little bit better. So, for instance, the fretwork on this neck, very, very comfortable. There's no sharp edges like a lot of times you find on, say, an affinity or a bullet. And I don't love gloss necks as much as I love a nice satin neck, but when it comes to the Squier stuff, I prefer the gloss necks just because it's a little more comfortable. The satin finishes that are available on those other lines just don't quite feel right to me. So I like the Classic Vibe when it comes to Squier. This is the 50s. The 60s are very cool. 70s are cool. A lot of different finishes. I just think this one looks pretty sharp. So I'm going to play a little bit on it, all the pickups, just do kind of a basic run through. The thing about a Strat is it's even more versatile, I think, than a Telecaster. Tele, everybody thinks country. I played country on that previous one. But with the Strat, you can do country, rock and roll, jazz, funk. And I think there's some other genres out there. I don't know. Blues. Ever heard of it? Sorry. So for the Strat, I'm going to do kind of this hybrid kind of picked style. Some elements of rock and funk and all that kind of stuff, because I think that's sort of what my mind goes to on a Stratocaster. So without further ado, Classic Vibe 50 Strat from Squier. Check it out. There you have it, you guys. A little taste of the classic vibe from Squier. That is a guitar that is made in Indonesia, but as we kind of move up in the line into Fender, these are going to be the Mexican-made Stratocasters, starting with the Player Series. Now, this is, like I said, there are different pickup configurations that you can check out. This has a humbucker in it. This is an HSS Stratocaster, and if you were going to go for a different pickup config on a Strat, I would probably say go for an HSS. We did a video before that was HSH, 2 humbuckers with a single in the middle. You know, whatever you want to think about that, it's a little crazy. All right, we're trying to get simple Strat, but this is a good example because most of these lines you can find yourself in HSS. Something with a humbucker in it, which gives you a little more, you know, thick, heavy-duty tone when you hit that bridge position on your 5-way switch, also known as the first position. And it's just nice to have, especially if you're going to be playing some heavier music. You want to put some overdrive on this thing, go to humbucker style, and just, you know, hard rock. It's a little thicker tone, a little bit fuller. And for me, I find that when I'm playing a Stratocaster, I really gravitate towards positions 2 and 4. Those are your in-between, you know, pickup choices. So it'll either blend your neck in your middle or your bridge in your middle, and it gives you a nice kind of very signature Strat tone that you would not get out of a Telecaster, because the Tele typically just 2 single coil pickups. But when it comes to the Strat, getting your combo tones, it's nice to be able to hit that bridge and have a humbucker in there, because sometimes a bridge by itself, especially on some of the lower end Strats, gets very, very thin and kind of a brittle sound. It's hard to cut through, and sometimes you need as much treble as you can get in order to cut through when you're playing with the band. So humbucker is nice because you flip it down into that position, you got some heaviness. And moving into the player stuff, the neck is great. This is the satin finish that I'm talking about, and moving on up, it's similar, but this kind of satin finish, really, really nice feel. It doesn't get sticky like a lot of glosses do, in my opinion. And on this one, we do have the whammy bar on there, so you can kind of understand, if you haven't played a Strat before, you know, the Tele is a hardtail bridge. You're not going to be moving. You don't have a tremolo system. So it's nice to be able to screw in a whammy bar, vibrato arm, tremolo arm, whatever you want to call it, and get some surfy kind of vibe. I'm not a huge whammy player, so I'm not going to be, you know, hammering on this thing as I play it, but at the end, I'll give you a little something. I'm going to play the same exact thing, Player Series Strat HSS. Hope you dig it. There's a little bit on the Player Series, probably overall, maybe the most commonly purchased. I don't know, it's tough because when we look at our marketing sales tracker, always the Squier stuff is the quick turnaround. Everybody picks those up because it's a nice way to get started. But a Player Strat, something special about it. I have the predecessor to the line was called just the Standard. I have a Standard Strat. It was kind of my first real electric guitar, made in Mexico, sunburst, maple fretboard, just a perfect guitar. It still plays, I mean, even better now because it's very worn in. I love that guitar. So Player Series, very great reputation, and we'll wrap up at the end. I'd probably recommend the Player Series to anybody that's really trying to get into playing electric guitar. But while we're still in the Mexico factory, it's worth checking out some of the cooler, extra options that you have, one of which being the Vintera line. Now, again, we talked about this in the previous video with Telecasters. Vintera is sort of portmanteau, if you're watching Jeopardy all the time like I am. Vintage, era, Vintera, whatever. And they, just like the classic vibe, 50s, 60s, 70s, you got a lot of different sort of bass models to choose from that are somewhat era specific. This, just like the classic vibe, is the 50s Strat. So it's kind of cool to be able to compare them, hear them next to each other. This is just a little, nicer appointed version, a little higher quality, but this Vintera is from the Roadworn series. So it's just like any other Vintera that you would get that was not Roadworn, but there is this kind of factory done checking on the finish, some wear spots to make you feel like you've been playing this thing since the 50s. And the neck is a Roadworn satin finish. So it is not just satin, but it's definitely sanded down more so in the areas that are probably going to be most played on. These areas kind of down the first 5 frets and then a little closer up to the 12th fret. It's pretty cool, pretty polarizing type of finish. I think it's cool sometimes. Probably wouldn't buy one myself. I would probably get the non-relic version of the Vintera line. But just to give you a little taste, because these are similar pickups, I mean the Vintera pickups, they are kind of era-specific sound. So compare this to what you heard with the 50s Squire. I will also say, we're not going to be playing in this one. There are a lot of honorable mentions in between these lines. One that I would check out is the Noventa line, which came out. We did a video on those when they first came out. You can click on the link above. Really cool stuff. And another kind of pickup configuration that you can find is with the Noventa line, it is P90s. So if you're into sort of still single coil, but a little wider, more mellow, kind of warm tone without having a humbucker, definitely check out the Noventa line, another made-up word by Fender. Yeah, whatever. But I guess that word's not made up. Either way, interesting name. And I like the Vinteras because it's still classic Stratocaster. Check out the Noventa line in our previous video because the P90s are awesome. But let's hear how this sounds, and then we'll move on to the American factory. All right, y'all, so that was a little bit of the 50s Vintera Roadworn Stratocaster, and now let's move into the American factory, which sort of is, trademarked by the American Professional line. Previously, it was the American Pro 1, and now it's the 2, and before that it was the American Standard. But this is kind of, the flagship line of Fender's American factory, and every time that they kind of revamp this, they add a little bit more to make it more comfortable and more advanced, but it's still just a Strat through and through. So supernatural satin finish on the neck, which I love, really nice rolled fret edges, and it does have sort of a heel carve, which makes it a little comfortable, and some extra switching options on the pickups. So 3 V-Mod 2 pickups, vintage modified. Everything's sort of vintage minded, I guess, even in the modern, but V-Mod pickups, and when you're in the first and second position, the push-push switch on the bridge tone knob down here will add in your neck pickup. So pretty cool kind of feature that, you know, there's always been different S1 switching options. We've talked a lot about that. They used to be very complicated and a little over the top and not very helpful. But this is a nice thing because you'll be down in that bridge position and you can add in sort of the rounded warm tone of the neck, or in your second position, you got all 3 pickups. Sounds great, so I'm gonna play a little bit on everything. Before we go into that, Noventa is a real word, it means 90. Just wanted to clear that up. And let's hear the American Pro 2. I love this color combination, Olympic white with the tortoiseshell pick guard. It looks good, sounds good, so let's check it out. So that was the American Pro 2. Now, stepping up into the higher echelon, we got the American Ultra. Now, in the tele video, we ran down the Ultra Luxe. Very similar in lines, the Ultra and the Ultra Luxe, just a few different features, but we have this beautiful Ultra in the store right now in Ultra Burst, and a lot of it's very similar to the American Pro 2 with just a couple added extras. Like I said, on that one, there is a heel carve. On this one, it's an even more dramatic carve on the back of the heel and kind of an extra little something down here on the lower horn. And it has a switch as well, does the same exact thing as the Pro 2, adds in your neck pickup in the bottom 2 positions, but it's in your volume knob this time. It does have kind of this, you know, newer age. The Pro 2 has the bent saddles on the bridge. This one has the kind of newer style, flat, very comfortable saddles on here. Same, you know, satin finish, supernatural satin with ultra rolled frets. This one does have a little bit of a different carve on the neck and, you know, fretboard, compound radius. It's a little more of the, you know, fast, super modern type neck carve. They feel pretty similar to me. I would love to make a different video down the road on how different or similar certain neck carves are, because I think a lot of stock is put into different carves on the neck, different fretboard radiuses. Within this range between the American Pro 2 and the Ultra, it's different, but I don't think it's too crazy different. This one does have locking tuners, which is a really nice feature. When I got my Ultra Jazzmaster, which I love, I had never had locking tuners before, and so never had the pleasure of knowing how easy it is to change strings. It's not that hard to change strings in the first place, but locking tuner is just a nice little feature to add, make everything a little easier for you. And these are noiseless pickups, and that is kind of going to be the biggest sound difference, I think, between the Pro 2 and this one. These are noiseless pickups. Those are V-Mod pickups. So take a listen, kind of feel which one is better for you, because once you get up to this point, kind of go backwards talking about price, everything in the American factory is going to be a good chunk over $1,000. The Mexican stuff is getting up to that point where it's all kind of hovering around $1,000. Player's going to be a little bit less. Vintera, Noventa, all of those are, either right under 1,000 or right over 1,000. So when you get to these, the American Pro 2, probably going to be somewhere between 1,400, 1,500, 1,600, depending on the model, the appointments, and where you get it, all that. And then the Ultras are right under 2,000. But when it comes down to the differences, I'm eager to hear what y'all think about, is it worth it to pay a few $100 extra to get noiseless, get locking tuners, get a little different neck carve, and some different body carves to make things a little more accessible, especially in the higher register. Take a listen on the pickups as compared to the previous ones, and try and hear what noiseless kind of bring to the table. I'll do the same pickup switching on here, so you can hear like the neck being added into the first and second position, and we'll go from there. There you have it, kind of the top of the line when it comes to Fender's American production that you can get, just stock from the factory. There is the Ultra Luxe, which is a tiny bit higher, a little bit different. Mainly, it's going to be the stainless steel frets, a little bit of a different neck carve. Again, I think it's an augmented D neck, and the Luxes. You can check out the Floyd Rose versions. They got some different HSS versus on the Tele and HH. We did do an Ultra Luxe on that last Tele video. Unfortunately, we just can't keep them in stock with the Stratocasters, but it's nice to have the Ultra. I kind of think for the average person that's going to be getting something top of the line, Fender American made, Ultra is probably going to be the one for you over the Luxe. The Luxe has a few different things that, kind of make it a little superfluous to me. I like the stainless steel frets. I'm not sure if it's worth the jump from the Ultra to the Ultra Luxe. That's up to you. We did a video on the Ultra Luxe, so feel free to check that out because they are really cool guitars. But truly the special centerpiece right now that I'm just excited to play and show you guys, because very rare that we have these in the store. This is a custom shop. Now, if none of the models that I have mentioned or shown you really fit what you're looking for, you can, you're at the end of the road. The last destination is the custom shop. You can truly make whatever you want. So this is a cool one that we got in as a trade-in from somebody that purchased this, not from our store. Now this belongs to us and will probably go pretty soon. This is 64 custom shop. So when it comes down to, era-specific things, we've talked about Vintera, we talked about Classic Vibe. There's the American Original line. There's also the American Performer line. That's not era-specific, but worth checking out. I didn't include one today, but there are other American options. The custom shop is where you can really get a specific year that you really want to narrow it down to. This person who got the Tangerine Dream here really wanted a sort of not heavy relic, but a pretty modestly relic 64 Stratocaster. And everything that comes on this guitar is going to be as close as possible to a 64 Strat. So that comes down to the neck carve, obviously no stripe on the neck that you find in most others. I don't think the Vintera or the Classic Vibe had the stripe, so that on brand there. But the wearing, the relicing, everything on this is going to be hand done, unlike the factory machine done relicing on the Roadworn Vintera. And this hardware is going to be aged differently. This one has the ashtray on the bridge, which you can pop off. It doesn't have to be on there. So you'll see in the demo, I like to palm mute a lot. This is not practical for a palm muter, but this is a very, very special guitar. You can feel the quality in your hands. It's a joy to play. The pickups are going to be custom shop voiced pickups for a 64 Strat. So for most of us that are unable to find a real 64, or any of the early 60s stuff, late 50s stuff, it's all super cool. The custom shop is really as close as it can get for finding something that's truly vintage, super specific, painstakingly recreated. It's very, very cool guitar, and there's not a ton of them around. We rarely get cool year-specific ones. So wanted you to hear it and know that if you are looking for something custom, if you want something that's just nothing in their standard stock production is going to do it for you, you need 1965 Stratocaster, shell pink over 3-color sunburst, whatever. You can talk to somebody at the custom shop. You can go through us. We can put you in contact with our Fender dealer, work it all out. I have a Fender custom shop acoustic. I've talked about it on the channel before. Such a cool experience to go through. It's a dream of mine to get a custom shop of my own. Ashtrays on the ground, but it's all good. Don't worry about it. So let's hear this thing. I think it sounds great. I hope you think the same. Stick around. There you have it, you guys. Kind of my picks for what I think really represent the best of Squier through the custom shop from Fender. Anywhere with the classic vibe from $300 to $400, where you can get just an awesome, great customizable guitar, some really cool finishes, and a great feeling and a great sound. All the way from the Mexican factory, $700 through about $1,000. American factory, about $14. The American Performer is a little less than the American Professional. I think they're a little, kind of the redheaded stepchild of the American factory. For instance, say with Jazzmasters, they just make different aesthetic choices that I think sort of cut into what you're supposed to have from these guitars. Finishes are a little funky for me, but it's worth checking out. The American Performers, there's some really cool stuff. If I was going to get a Performer, I'd probably get the Strat. I think the Tele and the Jazzmaster are a little too out there for me, but they stick to the formula on the Strat pretty well. You know, American Professional 2, about $1,500. Ultra, right under $2,000. And then something like this, which can really be, you know, whatever you want. You can have a blank check for a Fender custom shop, but it's pretty worth it because this is an amazing guitar. I think that all of these are great guitars, and it really just comes down to the features you're looking for. You know, the finishes, I know that's should be an afterthought, but that is important because you could find an awesome guitar, and if it's, you know, an ugly color that you don't enjoy, you're not going to like it, you're not going to want to play it. But the good thing about the Strat, they're all the same body shape, they're all super comfortable. It's not like a Tele where sometimes you have them flat and then you have to kind of pay up to get a comfort belly carve or anything like that. The Strat is truly the contoured, you know, comfort body shape for an electric guitar. Probably the pinnacle of electric guitars when it comes down to versatility, but still a recognizable sound from these pickups, classic look, and a lot of different options. So I played some stuff on maple, played some stuff on rosewood, custom shop pickups, all the way down to Squier pickups and the V-Mod and noiseless, all kinds of stuff to think about. So I would encourage you to either go to Fender's website and just use their filtering tools, find lines, find prices, colors, pickups, all the kind of parameters that you like, and do your research there, or do the same exact thing on our website where you can filter down into what you're truly looking for. And if you want to skip all that and you don't want to mess around on the computer, just give us a call, send us chats on our website, send us emails, however you want to get in touch with us. We'd love to talk to you about Stratocasters. It was my first electric guitar. I've gotten 3 since that first one, all the way up through the lines, and I'm very happy with all of them. So definitely worthwhile if you're trying to get into electric guitar. Strat is a great place to start, and at any one of these price points, you're going to be happy with what you got. But thank you guys very much for watching. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please hit subscribe, turn your notifications on, and like I said, go down to the description below and check out the link to become an insider because we got a lot of good stuff on Patreon. So thank y'all for watching. We'll see you next time.